We're back on Get Up, and I don't know about you, but for me, today is a holiday because Field Yates has a mock draft available. It's Mock Draft 3.0, and we'll focus on the quarterbacks in round one. He has two of them. No surprise, Fernando Mendoza going number one overall to the Raiders. That feels like a foregone conclusion. And then in this mock draft, he has Ty Simpson from Alabama sneaking his way up the draft board to number 21 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's bring Field Yates into the conversation here. Yates, obviously the discussion about Mendoza is an easy one. Is he ready to walk in and begin transforming a franchise from day one?
Yeah, Greeny, the discussion surrounding Fernando Mendoza is what neighborhood he's going to live in Las Vegas. Beyond that, everything else is fait accompli. But yes, he can transform an offense in Las Vegas because I think it's the ideal pairing along with Clint Kubiak, their new head coach. One of the comparisons, I know you know this, Greeny, that I've used for Mendoza during the fall has been Sam Darnold, who, of course, just won a Super Bowl with Clint Kubiak in Seattle. Hard play-action quarterback, full field accuracy, functional mobility, all the traits that you see from Fernando Mendoza on tape this past season. He had 41 passing touchdowns. That was more than any other FBS quarterback and showed dramatic improvement in terms of pocket awareness. Took just 25 sacks this year, nearly half as many as he did the year prior.
Yeah, there are no questions about Mendoza as the number one pick. I would just very quickly throw it around this table because I think the second one is the more interesting one from Field. Very quickly throw it around. Is it the right thing to do for a franchise at the very bottom that has as many needs as they do to start with the quarterback? You start by building around the quarterback.
Yeah, you start with building around the quarterback. If Clint Kubiak, when he walks in, if that's his guy, that's the guy you take, you build around it. They did it in Indy with Peyton Manning. You see they do it a lot of different places. Burrow, they did it within Cincinnati. It's the fastest way to get back on track. If you don't have that position, you don't have any opportunity to win in the NFL.
I think to Jeff's point, it's one way to do it. I don't think it's the only way to do it. I think we've seen teams, Seattle, for example, when they won their first Super Bowl, they had a team built. When they ended up with Russell Wilson, they were able to plug him in and still win. So I think for the Raiders, yes, if you firmly believe in Mendoza, you draft them. If not, you could trade that pick and still build around.
A long way from that roster of the Seahawks. Long way from there.
That's sort of the point.
That would be the
right.
plan.
Well, that's kind of the alternative point.
What they're both describing, both of those philosophies do make sense. It really is. If this is your guy, then you cannot wait. If you're Clint Kubiak, the first order of business is the quarterback, deciding whether you want Fernando or not.
Right.
But two, Max Crosby. Because this is a roster with a ton of holes.
Yeah.
So does Max Crosby help you win in 2026? Or does he help you win in 2026 by sending him somewhere else, recouping some picks, and then using that to refurnish that roster?
Put a pin in that one. We're coming back to it in just a couple of minutes. In the meantime, Yates, I'll come back to you because the real question here has been who is the second quarterback in this draft and where does he go? What are your answers to those?
Yeah, I think it's pretty clearly Ty Simpson, Greeny, from Alabama. And I do think that Ty Simpson lands in the first round. The range, by the way, could start much sooner than number 21. Amongst the teams that do need a quarterback this year, not saying that we use that pick on Ty Simpson, but the Jets at number 2, the Cardinals at number 3, the Dolphins at number 11. Obviously, the Steelers at 21 is where I had him. Don't forget the Browns pick at 6 and 24 as well. It's a long season, Greeny. And I think that now that we are about a month or so removed from the end of Alabama's season, that I think that executives that are evaluating Ty Simpson are taking a much more comprehensive look. The stuff that was really good at the beginning of the season should not be dismissed. I think the next couple of months will also be very good to him as teams get a chance to find out what kind of processor, leader, and individual he is.
Kmart, what is your sense of what they're thinking in Pittsburgh?
As of right now, I would be surprised if the Steelers don't bring back Aaron Rodgers into the fold. And I am not saying that is what I think they should do. But this is a team that has been hesitant to hit that reset button and say, we have to rebuild. Let's figure out how to get better for a year or two and then try to win Super Bowls. They kind of have kept things status quo and tried to plug and play. That's why I think Rodgers could be back in the fold. Also, if I'm Mike McCarthy, who's my number 2 wide receiver? Who's the person opposite DK? They have an aging wide receiving core, and Calvin Austin, I believe, is going to be a free agent. They have holes to fill as well.
Well, as Yates knows, there are excellent wide receivers that will be available in that neighborhood, of the draft. But the quarterback is the interesting one. If Rodgers is coming back, do you still like the idea of taking the quarterback, Rodgers, and then developing the young guy waiting for it behind him as they did in Green Bay once upon a time?
Absolutely. Listen, from the Steelers' perspective, Aaron Rodgers gives them the best chance to win right now. another quarterback, whether it's Ty Simpson or somebody else moves up into that, they need to have a long-term solution in Pittsburgh at quarterback. If there's what cost Mike Tomlin and just frustrated him to when he didn't want any more of this, that question, if it never gets answered, people aren't going to keep trusting a 43, 44. Like at some point, you have to move on. That's why you draft a guy and develop him under Rodgers.
Have Will Howard, guys.
And that might be their guy.
Potentially. I think it's interesting because if you do draft a guy like Simpson in the first round and you get out there and you bring Rodgers back, what if Simpson surprises you? What if you get out there and it's like, wow, this kid is ready to play right now? Do you hold him back and continue to let Aaron Rodgers play through the season and say, hey, he's here for next year in the future? Or do you put him out there and say, hey, he has some ability right now that can help us win games?
And that's what McCarthy has done. He made, even when, let me tell you something. I went to Green Bay. Rodgers was ripping it up when Favre was still a quarterback on scout team. He's watched a great one sit and wait his turn. He has the patience. And they've won a bunch of games, Greeny. They're 9-7 in the playoffs together, McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers. He understands how to develop quarterbacks. There's one thing about Mike McCarthy, developing quarterbacks is an area he knows.
I have one more quick question for Yates. Do I still have field? Yates, the Trinidad Chambliss, who we all saw make that great run with Ole Miss all the way to the semifinals, it still hangs in the balance whether he's going to be allowed to go back to college or not. That's what he wants. If he can't and he winds up in this draft, where does he go? Does he have a chance to become QB2?
I don't believe so, Greeny. I think he's going to end up somewhere at best on day 2 as Trinidad Chambliss. And it comes down to this, is he was electric during the college football playoff, obviously, and he carved up several of the best defenses in college football. Small player, though, Greeny. This is a very much an outlier type frame. This is a 5'10-ish quarterback, and we have seen some quarterbacks get drafted very high. Kyler Murray and Bryce Young amongst the most notable recent ones. I do believe, though, he's more of a day 2 at best type of prospect than a day 1 quarterback. I think no matter what happens to Trinidad Chambliss, we're talking about 2 quarterbacks in the first round. Obviously, Fernando Mendoza and then Ty Simpson, who I want to make clear, I am not dismissing the possibility that I'm quite a bit too low on Ty Simpson at player number 21 overall.
Oh, wow. Meaning that he goes earlier than that.
Earlier than that, yes, indeed. Yep.
Okay. Field Yates, Mock Draft 3.0, and First Draft Podcast every Monday and every Wednesday, wherever you get your podcast. Yates, awesome. Coming up.
Amina, Tyler, saying hello to our NFL analyst and box office hitmaker, Jeff Saturday. Hello, Jeff, looking dapper this morning here on SportsCenter. Give us the 3 off-season storylines we are going to see on the marquee this summer.
Well, we just showed the Seattle Seahawks. How about their offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, and the Raiders of the Lost Art, Las Vegas Raiders. This is a massive addition. We talked about Tom Brady going to, as a partial owner. Fernando Mendoza being the first pick in the draft. Raiders going to end up taking him. But they got a lot of issues to fix out in Las Vegas. Clint Kubiak has his work cut out for him, not only offensively, but how about defensively? Max Crosby, their awesome defensive end, looking maybe to possibly go somewhere else, get a better chance to win, have some opportunities that he may not have there in Las Vegas. Going to be a massive offseason. Chief concern. Have we all forgotten about a quarterback who's played in 5 Super Bowls, probably the greatest start for a QB in NFL history, with one of the greatest coaches in NFL history, Patrick Mahomes? And now let's talk about Andy Reid talking about Travis Kelce potentially retiring. How is this team going to reboot to get back to their goal of winning another title and another championship? They started to fix some issues. They got to fix O-line. Obviously, Mahomes with his injury, getting that thing and how quickly he can come back. But let's never forget, don't rule this team out. Kansas City Chiefs are a team to be